Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Google and Discord so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
I think so. I'm like, I don't keep track, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I keep missing it. I thought I had it pegged. And I thought this Tuesday was going to be a live show, and then Saturday coming up is going to be Ballbusters.
Yeah, I don't know what his schedule is. I know it's Tuesday and Saturday.
How do you like that Jazzy guy? I listened to Nathan, the re-up of that show. Man, that guy, I really wanted to jump to the line and strangle him. Unfreaking real. You know, I was going to go over to Jim Pandas, too, because I know I always see him over there. Like, I go by and I see who's on. I always see him over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over there and call him out. But I said, you know what? He's banned. Leave him there. He realized his mistake after he did it, trying to say, I'm sorry. Not because of what he said, because he was banned. Or going to be banned.
I think I talked to him before.
Yeah, he's a pilot. He thinks he knows it all. And he was right there in all of those discussions about Earth's curvature and how much was missing of a building or a boat or whatever.
QE's got another picture out. He showed it last night. Long distance.
Any more
And then
info
he
on?
went over the. I'm sorry.
Tell us more.
Oh, QE has another photograph. I forget where it's at, but he went over in detail last night about the angular resolution. And it's a pretty good picture. I think it's 250 miles or something. I don't know. I forget, but
I see.
Where was this? In yesterday on Discord?
yeah, last night. Yeah, late last night, kind of. Well, 8 o'clock my time. It was about 10 o'clock for him.
$250 miles, huh?
I think so.
But
I don't know.
you know
I'll
what?
give you
Listen,
photographs.
it'll never be enough. You know that, right? What's his name was on here that time? Kosho. It'll never be enough. You can show it a million miles, and it still will never be enough for them.
But you pinpoint the argument, that's all you. They don't have nothing. They BS so much. Their angle of resolution.
goes
We can
along with the
determine the
see too
size.
far.
Yeah.
We don't see too far. That's nonsense.
I know. I'm saying that goes along with we see too far, right? Because if they're saying a million miles and you still won't see a horizon, that's along the same thing, ain't it?
Well, no, what I meant by that was if you're going to assert that. Should we save it for the live show, Neil?
Okay.
I can launch into it if you want. So it's letting them beg
No,
the
no,
question,
wait.
right?
You can wait for the live show.
It's a flat Earth statement that allows the opponent to beg the question automatically. See, it's too far. Too far compared to what? Well, compared to how much my globe maths, all right, says we should see. It's further than the globe maths is, a reasonable statement to make. But by saying too far, now what do you mean too far? Just see what I can see. There it is. I see it. Why is it too far? Oh, because there should be Earth curve getting in the way, and there isn't, so it's too far. It's like that's a stretch. I don't need to make any of those assumptions about things that should be in the way but aren't. I just see what I see. It's not too far.
I agree. I'm with that. I hate when flat earthers say I see too far. But when Kosho comes around and says, why don't you show me a black swan like a million miles away? He's still looking for
Okay,
horizon,
and
right?
my response, what's that? Why don't you come and paint my house? What does it have to do with the debunking of their physical geometry? They need a geometric horizon. Now their response is it's refracted. My response is, who cares? It's no longer geometric. You need that for R. Everything else around you, your globe faith that is, crumbles without R. What's that? You want more? You want a picture further? I couldn't give a crap what you want. Come and paint my house.
What happened to premature sycamore pollination in the north of England?
That's only if you're not debating about something very specific, in this case, the black swan. Once you've got a topic, it's not like some random commenter just coming and saying, prove eclipses on a flat earth. You go, prove premature sycamore pollination in the north of England on a globe. What? Have you made a claim about it? No. Have I made a claim about it? No. So what is this? You're just coming up to some random person and demanding that they prove something that you demand of them. Why? Well, because you're entitled to, as a flat earther, you've got to have questions asked of you. No, absolutely not. However, there's a lot to answer for if you've already made those claims about how eclipses work, etc., etc.
Well, I like come and paint my house.
Well,
Yeah.
that's referring to other things when you say, "Do you paint houses?"
No, it's nothing
I
to do
think
with that.
it-
It's saying perform a random task for me because I demand it of you, and no other reason. You want a further picture? What's that going to do exactly when I'm demolishing your claim of physical geometry that blocks boats and buildings and is a derivation point for R? That's the geometric horizon. So once it's beyond the geometric limitations, that's the end of the globe assertion with their R value destroyed in the process. Now, once they want more than that, what you want me to show you the horizon further away on a flat Earth, I don't care what you want. I know it's not a sphere now because you haven't got any geometric R value assertions with refraction to move it further if you're going to go down that route. And if you say I need to provide more evidence, I only need one to show that it's not the geometric limitations they claim in their maths. Beyond that, again, all is nonsensical. It doesn't make any difference to me. So, same way him coming and painting my house or mowing my lawn or whatever else I can just demand of him is not relevant to the subject matter. Hey, Adam.
I like.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam. I like come and paint my house because they're trying to brush aside the argument.
I ruined your pun.
Listen,
You talk so long, I was going to put it in, but I had to wait.
Sorry, I should sense these things.
Yeah, you know when I get on a roll, right?
I've only just sat down. What you want?
Oh, you
is
missed
that a
that one
roller
too.
that they use in painting?
Yes, that was the second one coming too.
All right.
All
Well,
right,
when you say, "Do you paint houses?" That in the Irishman, that meant you bump people off for the mob. I hear you paint houses, or I did a nice piece of work. So
It's
I don't
probably
think you should say, come and paint my house, Nathan.
it's probably best if you don't mention people's actual professions because, you know, obviously emulsions run high when you do that.
It's time to put a lid on it.
Oh, I want to do a
Oh
joke, but I
my
don't want
God.
to take the gloss off of it.
Oh gosh,
That was like,
both those were slick, I must say.
So what this then? No, you've been hard to do a hit job. Am I hearing? Is it?
No,
As a former wrestler, I'll take you guys to the matte finish.
oh, Matt.
Nice.
Yeah, matted paint.
I was gonna
But
say
the
one of
best
those. I didn't
paint,
want it
the
to fall
best
flat
paint
though.
is the high gloss.
hold on. Let's go on, Stagoli. Go ahead.
Thanks, Nathan. I was gonna say I was gonna tell a joke. I didn't want it to fall flat.
Oh,
Nice.
Let's just brush over that.
is it going to be a paint pun day?
Well, we're already
Don't
on a
stir it
roller.
up.
Ah,
God, I
boom,
hope
boom.
not.
Yeah, because it'll start running out.
Why don't you just drip it on us a little bit at a time, Neil? So, no ballers on yesterday's show.
Anti-flat earthers.
There were.
Lies.
They,
No ball. Yeah,
they were. They just didn't speak up. Anti-flat earthers or globers. They were in Discord. They just didn't say anything.
yeah.
I've been
Sign
hearing
for the
that
times.
phrase, anti-flat earthers, and it became apparent last night on Brandon's. That's what they've resorted to. They have no ball now. All they've got to come and argue with is it's not a flat Earth. Look, because of this. But they're not bringing their ball to the table anymore.
That's my
Like-
favorite argument. That this isn't possible on a flat Earth, aka this isn't possible in reality if I'm right about it.
Yeah, they're so used to setting up that for a false dichotomy fallacy to follow, or a straw man fallacy, so that they can beg the question. That's all they ever do. Now, while you might draw the distinction with anti-flat earthers being against flat earth rhetoric, I didn't necessarily make that distinction when I was bringing in the first comparison to Lite. That said, it wasn't the first, it's a rehash. I did this 5 years ago with Red Rhetoric. I'm sure I mentioned that with anti-flat earth. But back then, flat earth was hot and anti-flat earth weren't growing, and flat earthers were. You know, the golden times. Anywho. now the tables have turned, and the anti-flat earth movement that was a niche of a niche. So when flat earth started growing, it was a small niche in YouTube, or on YouTube. And the niche within the niche was anti-flat earth. Now that's the other way around. If you type in flat earth, you get anti-flat earth. That's what you'll get immediately. And we've become their niche because we don't get any publicity. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. Things don't stay hot forever. I just wanted to drop that in terms of prefacing this for any newbie that might be listening in, right? Anyway, when you get to an anti-flat earther, they've heard the rebuttal to a claim that the sphere makes, and then they need to brace against what we have said in some form. So they're coming at the assertions we've debunked from a tangent that doesn't necessarily fall in line with the globe claim in the first instance. It's getting complicated, but it is complicated because these people would just say, no, I'm just a globe believer. Look, I talk about how the Earth's a sphere all the time. How can you tell me I'm not a glober? It's like, yeah, because there's a subtle distinction that makes you anti-flat Earth. For example, Simon Dan. Instead of Earth turns underneath so we see 15 degrees an hour drift, that's the claim, that's globe, it's simple. Coriolis effect is you turning underneath to cause drift that is not actually occurring in the object you're watching, it's just you turning underneath it that causes it to seem to drift. Now, me phrasing that and being listened to by someone like Dan, at the time maybe a globe believer, he's got to go, no, we don't see anything drifting on Earth. Nothing's drifting away. So he must be wrong, the flat earther. So I'm going to go out and find an example of a man jumping up and down off a seemingly separate reference frame, but not drifting. So it's moving, like Earth's moving, so I can assume Earth's moving. And the man's jumping up and down, but he's not going out the back of the trampoline that's being pulled by a tractor. Therefore, no drift. Look, here's my example, Flat Earther. You say there should be drift. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I say there should be drift. Wrong. The globe says there should be drift. I debunk it by showing there isn't any. When I show there isn't any, you attack me showing there isn't any, and show why there shouldn't be any. There should be some. There isn't. You've got to get around that. So you're going to attack my claims. Net result, anti-Flat Earther says to Flat Earther, Simon Dan says to me, you and your reference frames are ruined. Or to paraphrase, oi Nathan, says Simon Dan, your reference frames you don't have and don't need, that are required to prove globe spins, are destroyed. Ha ha ha! It's like, you idiot. You're just fighting against me because I'm a Flat Earther, and I've debunked your claim that we spin. So now it's time to attack me debunking the claim that you spin as though it's my claim and my reference frames? No, anti-Flat Earth are suddenly trapped in cognitive dissonance. That's why they lash out so much. Talk about my children dying, for example. Because cognitive dissonance causes pain, and they want to project that pain straight back out to where it's come from. Me, in that example. So they do. Project it out and cause themselves cognitive pain in the process and leave us with a lot of sound bites to laugh at them about.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah?
Can they say they made a mistake with that and like pull it off the table?
You have to be more
Coriolis,
specific.
I mean.
Be more specific.
Would that
Neil.
affect other things?
Other things? I have no idea what you're talking about. You have to be more specific.
Like say they say, hey, we got that wrong. There is no drift.
So you're saying they could just say, where we claim Earth turns beneath stuff to cause Coriolis deflection, it actually doesn't. That's what you're suggesting they should say. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying, what if they do that?
Then we welcome them to a non-rotating Earth, first and foremost.
Because of the celestial bodies, correct?
Because we're not turning beneath stuff if they relinquish the fact that we're supposed to be but aren't experiencing anything doing it. They claim we're turning beneath stuff because they make an observation of the stars moving and postulate that that is an occurrence caused, a causal relationship, because Earth's turning beneath the stars. Relative, they're not moving. It's Earth turning with you turning on it, making Earth a non-inertial spinning reference frame and the stars an inertial reference frame. Relative to your position not moving but seeming to move because you're turning beneath them. Likewise, a football should drift through the goal, as asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, because that's the claim that they use to prove we spin. Coriolis deflection, drift at 15 degrees an hour. So for them to hear me point out that we don't have it, with whatever example I give, they've got to do something or they become a Flat Earther. Well, what's your path? You've only got 2 forks in the road. You're on a globe path. Suddenly you're met with that. We don't have any drift. You're supposed to have 15 degrees an hour on a globe. The globe claims 2 reference frames, Dan. Not me. I detail your claim that fails. Things aren't turning beneath aeroplanes, helicopters, drones. They're not whizzing away 1,000 miles an hour on the equator as you turn beneath them. But that's the claim that you're supposed to have if you're turning beneath stuff on a globe. It's called Coriolis effect. Now, to relinquish that is the fork in the road that is anti-Flat Earth, brace against what the Flat Earth has said, or Flat Earth. Non-rotating Earth in this instance. It's not actually an aspect, but there we go. It's the claim we spin. So non-rotating Earth or anti-Flat Earth, if you will, on the fork in the road. Well, when they go down the anti-Flat Earth fork, they end up making very stupid assertions that actually debunk their claim in the first instance, like you and your reference frames are ruined. They can't just disavow it. They'd have to relinquish their notion that it's a proof of Earth spin. It isn't. We'd see drift. And the drift is what's supposed to prove we spin. We haven't got any drift, therefore we're not spinning. What are you going to do with that if you're a fundy?
I'll tell you where they get close. When you listen to them describe the use of a sextant, they say, now we're going to go to ancient man's concept that the stars are moving and not the Earth. Funny why they have to put that in there.
Because they are. We're not moving, we'd see drift. If the only thing that is claimed to be the thing that demonstrates drift is the motion of the stars themselves, you then got to look into what they assert the stars are and how they claim the motion is caused. So you're straight back to the R value, earthosphere turning beneath them. So it's a claim of Coriolis effect, regardless of whether or not you debunk it by the other claims that they make about bullets and footballs and gyroscopes and pendulums. They're all claimed to display this effect because Earth's turning beneath them also. But it's supposed to tie the two together. That's supposed to be the proof that we are moving in a position in a heliocentric universe. Well, we're not. Other than the stars moving and their assumption we're turning beneath them to cause not actual deflection in the form of Coriolis deflection of the stars, well, that's just an assumption that's not provable in any way.
But see, there's a pattern here. The pattern is the NASA documents, the Martin Marietta documents, the McDonnell Douglas documents, the Lockheed documents. I go on and on and on. Even instrument companies and their documents. And they say, we have to assume the Earth is motionless. And then you go to celestial navigation and say, we have to assume the Earth is now rotating, but it's the stars rotating. And then we go to the mapping and GPS, and Brian did a good job on this, of course, and where they measure everything flat, everything is measured flat with a tangent line, and then they convert it to a globe. They're stuck between the truth and the falsehood of their model, and they get caught every time in the fine print.
So that's what I'm saying. That was a stupid thing to even come up with, Coriolis, because it don't make no sense, because nothing's drifting. You could throw something and it don't drift.
Something old and new. Can you pop yourself on mute? You're causing a bit of audio chaos.
They weren't advanced, Neil, with helicopters, hot air balloons, or any of that to figure that out early. So they got caught with the obvious thing that if something you're on is turning, then there would be. But then they never thought there'd be a way of testing it, I guess.
Kent, I'm sure somebody threw a rock back in the day.
They had cannonballs that landed in the same cannon itself. It don't matter. The deception causes them to go crazy as well.
But what I'm trying to say is the Simon Dan thing, when he has the guy on the trampoline and he doesn't fly out the back. Yeah, he says, look, no drift. So maybe they could turn around and say, listen, we got it wrong. You're not going to see anything like that. There is no drift, but the Earth is still spinning.
Yeah, but no, because if it's spinning, you would see drift. That's the whole point.
Yeah, their claim is that we do. So you're saying, well, no, all you do is go to an anti-flat Earth position of we wouldn't expect to see drift. You would expect to see 15 degrees an hour of drift if you're on a globe. That's their claim, Neil.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'm not wording it right.
When we point out, when we point out that there should be drift, they claim there should be drift. They take that as the flat earther claims there should be drift on a globe. Yeah, you should have drift on a globe. 15 degrees of it. You tell us that's the proof you spin. But they just ignore that bit. No, when the flat earther says things should drift away at 15 degrees an hour, as per the globe claim, it's the flat earther's claim that's wrong. That's the only that's the only place they can go, Neil.
When the sun moves 15 degrees an hour, that's either because the celestial body is moving and we're flat and stationary, or we're moving around it, thus causing the drift. And they've taken the latter, saying that we rotate. Now, that's debunked right away.
Well, other than
I'm saying it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it doesn't make any sense because the latter is an extraordinary claim. No, you and everything, the entire surface of every ground everywhere is all moving at 15 degrees an hour. 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. Everything, everywhere is all moving. That's why those stars that move while you don't feel anything are moving. You go, wow, that's a pretty extraordinary claim. What evidence have you got? Come and have a look at my compass gyro and my claim that bullets are going to drift away as you fire at a target a mile away. And my ball goes through the goal because Earth's turning beneath it. All right, so it goes beneath aeroplanes then, and helicopters, and hot air balloons, and drones then. No, we wouldn't expect to see... That's how the argument goes.
Wow. They really hung themselves.
Bye-bye globe.
Then comes the Velcro gases that move with the Earth.
Yeah, they get
And that
they
somehow
get
justifies why drones and helicopters and so on don't move, because really they're in the same reference frame as the Earth if the gases are attached.
Yeah, you've basically highlighted the definition of an anti-flat Earth argument. To claim that Earth and atmosphere move as one is first and foremost just a begging the question fallacy. I'm going to assume Earth's spinning, and I'm going to assume there's no effect because the gases that are unbonded, not attached to themselves or anything else, are actually velcroed to the Earth and violating the first law of thermodynamics by moving at a faster rate up high than they would down low for you to not notice any effect. It's like, that explanation is anti-flat Earth through and through. No, Fundy, you claim two reference frames, non-inertial and inertial, and you claim we see drift because we're on a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath stuff that's in the inertial reference frame. That's your claim. Not that Earth and atmosphere are assumed to turn as one without any effects being noticeable. And your explanation for why there's no effects noticeable when you're supposed to have an effect of 15 degrees of drift noticeable. It's just a complete cluster screw from anti-flat earthers once we debunk the claim we spin. If we spin, we have 15 degrees an hour drift. That is the globe claim. We don't have anything drifting away from us. Therefore, we don't have Earth turning. That's just as simple as that. Doesn't mean that I need my reference frames debunking. Likewise, when you present the Black Swan argument, the if-P statement isn't our claim. It's not a straw man you need to debunk or claim that we've used a straw man when it's literally your claim of Earth radius 3959. That is your claim. Is that your dog, Neil? Very nice. Very nice. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, father of a stolen child, Neil, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
morning, everyone.
How
Yeah.
does
Hey,
it
good
feel?
morning.
Good morning, good morning. We're going to start with a question from housekeeping that follows on from the pre-show. So if you're watching this on one of the Uncut and After shows, this will make perfect sense why we're starting with this question. But any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? That is, before everyone jumps in, an assertion that we have two reference frames. An inertial reference frame with objects either hovering like a drone can hover in the air, or moving in a straight path like a missile or an aeroplane, or a ball that you might throw, and a non-inertial turning reference frame that would be Earth turning beneath those things to cause them to seem to drift. That would be the ball seeming to move in a curved path when actually it's travelling straight, or the missile seeming to go in a curved path but actually going straight, or the drone seeming to go in a curved path when actually it's hovering. Now, those are effects that are claimed to happen because Earth turns beneath things, inducing this not actual deflection called Coriolis effect. Is there any actual evidence that we have a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath an inertial reference frame to prove we have axial rotation? John, don't jump in yet.
Well, the claim is there because there's 15-degree movement of the sun. Now, that's the claim that the Earth is moving to cause that visual of the sun moving. But it's not the sun moving, we're moving. That's the claim. Now, the evidence, well, that's what we're asking for. It would certainly show up. If it shows up under a bullet, if it shows up under a field goal, a pendulum, any other little things that they want to use, then it's got to show up with anything not attached to the Earth as well, like a hot air balloon, helicopter, or airplane, but it doesn't.
I was just going to say they still claim the pendulum. Talk to, what's his name? Zanuck. He'll still bring up the pendulum. That's lock solid proof.
Okay, should we cover that? Any objection? No. So the pendulum claims precisely that we have a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath the back and forth motion of the pendulum. So, to break this down, pendulums have an inherent property that they move back and forth, only back and forth. They don't drift. So why would it be that you would see something seeming to drift? It's knocking over the dominoes. Well, it's claimed Earth turning beneath it causes that deflection. It's not an actual deflection. It's merely that you're standing on ground that's turning beneath the back and forth motion of the pendulum. Thank you very much, whoever it is that's just put that up. Is it Adam, presumably? Thank you. So, we've got a back and forth motion with an apparent deflection causing the dominoes to be knocked over. So that's Earth turning beneath the pendulum. We all clear? I'm going to distinguish this now as saying this is a globe claim. The globe claims Earth turns beneath. Okay? So, bearing that in mind, Earth as a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath the back and forth motion of this pendulum would mean that we observe things seem to drift from the ground because Earth's turning beneath them, like it turns beneath the pendulum. Well, that would mean that a helicopter launches and hovers above the ground, and while you watch it, it drifts away at 15 degrees an hour while it hovers. Now, it's not that helicopters that are hovering are attempting to fly away from you. They're not. But according to this claim, helicopters will drift away at 15 degrees an hour. So if you're a helicopter pilot, you just need to go up about 100 feet, or whatever you need to go up to clear any buildings, hover for a couple of hours, and the next country along will come to you. Right? That's how helicopters work. They just hover, and the ground turns beneath them. Correct, Neil? I don't know.
Correct.
I'm getting a sandwich.
No,
Yeah.
I was doing something. Correct, yes.
Right. Well, that doesn't happen. Likewise, nobody launches a drone on the equator and watches it fly away, or seem to fly away, while it hovers, as the ground turns beneath it. Okay, so now we've made that distinction. Thank you, whoever's presenting the pendulum motion. Perfect. Wonderful. Excellent timing. So, let's move on to what we have as a rebuttal from the globe side. If anybody wants to pipe up and take my place as the glober and playing both sides at the moment, they would assert that no, it won't affect a helicopter because gas, which is completely unbonded and has elastic collisions, actually is attached to the ground. It all moves with the ground that I assume is spinning. Now, this is an anti-flat Earth argument, explaining why we don't see the effect of Coriolis drift. We don't see things drifting away because blah, 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 blah. Well, if we don't see things drifting away, we don't have the globe claim, as opposed to the anti-flat Earth response to our debunking of it, that we have drift at 15 degrees an hour. So, to summarise, The globe claims 15 degrees an hour of drift because Earth turns beneath stuff. The anti-flat Earth claim we won't see 15 degrees an hour drift because Earth is assumed to be spinning with the atmosphere that's unbonded, so that we have absolutely no demonstrable effect to observe at all. That's the distinction between an anti-flat earther who will argue about why we don't see drift, and a glober who claims that we do, only to have us crap all over it by pointing out that aeroplanes would have their flight times reduced if Earth was turning beneath them. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Los Angeles would take about an hour and a half, because Earth would be turning beneath it. For you to observe it seem to drift from the ground. That's Coriolis effect, the claim we spin. And because it doesn't, it takes about 4.5 hours, we'll have an argument telling us how we assume Earth spins with atmosphere that's unbonded. That's why the flight time's unaffected, and we won't see it drift from the ground. We won't observe 15 degrees of Coriolis to prove we spin, said the anti-flat earther. Hope that's been summarised well enough for any newbie to follow along. It is a complicated subject after all.
Can I give my just so story baller, not anti-flat earther rebuttal?
Absolutely, Alwyn, feel free.
Cool. Right. So, yeah, you're mistaken because you claim there's only 2 reference frames. That's wrong. There is more reference frame than we can find out. But what we do know is that it's not just the Earth is spinning, right? It's also spinning around the sun, and the sun is spinning around the axis of the galaxy, and the axis is probably spinning around some super galaxy, and who knows what that is spinning around. So we have more reference frames than we can count, not just 2.
The old infinite reference frames nonsense. Yeah, you need 2 for Coriolis, though. Specifically for Coriolis effect, it's non-inertial and inertial reference frames.
Maybe the Globers and the anti-flat earthers should start debating each other.
Yeah.
I do that
on the same page.
I do that. I do that in chat. So when someone comes in and asserts one side of the position, I'll string them along as I can till another person comes in that doesn't notice what's happening and then asserts the complete antithesis of their position. It often happens with Coriolis. And I tell them, you need to set chat member A straight then. They're telling me we wouldn't expect to see drift. And you're thanking Bob Nodell for the 15 degrees an hour drift that we see because Earth turns beneath the gyro. This guy's telling us we wouldn't expect to see drift. How Earth and atmosphere move together? Maybe you two need to sort this out amongst yourselves. That's what I'll do in the chats.
Well, you could always go with the guy who said, well, let me show it to you by explaining what happens on an enclosed train.
Single reference frame. So when they start exampling what happens on an aeroplane or a train when you throw a bullet back and forth, a ball, throw a bullet back and forth, suppose it'd still work. And they say, well, look, they're throwing it back and forth, but because it's all sealed up in the plane, nothing's happening. There's 2 problems with that for the fundy globe believer that they think that they are when they're actually anti-flat Earth. Number 1, so you're saying that Earth and its air is all sealed up like an aeroplane. All right, so how do you get to space? It's sealed up, right? For it to all be travelling as one? That's the first problem. The second problem is it's a single reference frame. So no non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath that reference frame to cause not actual deflection then. An argument for why we don't see any drift. No one's observing any. We wouldn't expect to see any. Well, that kind of craps all over your claim that we see 15 degrees an hour of it, and why would you be thanking Bob for it if we're not expecting to see it, anti-flat earther? We've got globe heads who think Bob's proved it, because they're claiming Earth turns beneath the gyro, and yet you're telling me we wouldn't expect to see it because Earth violates the first law of thermodynamics and has the atmosphere spinning at quicker rates higher up, increasing its energy, and all sealed up like in an aeroplane. Yeah, this has got lots of problems now, hasn't it? I think the response to that should be to tell me that all of these reference frames I've detailed as a flat earther are ruined.
It's funny that they thank Bob, but they throw Smoke in the Grass Tyson under the bus. What's going on there?
Yeah, because Bob Nodell is the anti-flat Earth guru in terms of their assertion that he's proven something that the globe claims, so they can later go on to defend how they don't actually observe it and we wouldn't expect to see it. But they love thanking him. Meanwhile, Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to come up in conversation because he's actually making the assertion, and on their side, punting the heliocentric rhetoric of Earth turning beneath stuff, in his case, a football. Well, they're no different. The examples are the same. Earth turning beneath the gyro, Earth turning beneath the football. It's no different. It's Coriolis drift that they're both describing. But they'd rather throw Neil deGrasse Tyson under the bus because we use him as a hostile witness. Neil deGrasse Tyson says you see apparent deflection because Earth turned beneath this football to cause it to go through the goal. That's Earth turning beneath the football. So Earth's going to turn beneath helicopters and drones and anything else that's left the ground for us to see it drift away. No, drone's got a motor. It doesn't make any difference, anti-flat earther, because a drone having a motor doesn't change this not actual deflection. It's nothing to do with its actual course and everything to do with you turning beneath it, observing it. So to see it, you've got to turn beneath it. And if we don't see it, we're not turning beneath it now, are we? Your reference frames are ruined, flat earther. Yeah, I don't have any. You do, and we've ruined them.
I have to correct you again on the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. They didn't throw him under the bus. No, he actually accidentally stumbled underneath the bus because of Coriolis deviation.
Not at all. He's punting the standard heliocentric rhetoric. I did some quick maths. Where did he get the quick maths from? Well, he calculated the rate of turn of Earth as a sphere underneath an inertial reference frame. He's calculating Earth as a non-inertial turning reference frame, turning beneath the ball travelling through the inertial reference frame, and the rate of deflection that he can observe from the stands as he watches it curve through the goal. That's Earth turning beneath the ball. Absolutely and unequivocally in line with the heliocentric rhetoric that Earth turns beneath stuff to cause Coriolis deflection. Only capable of observation from the ground. Nothing to do with the trajectory of the path of the thing you're observing, and everything to do with the apparent path because you're turning beneath it. Like the apparent path of a tree limb over the top of a roundabout. You look at it from the roundabout, it looks like it's coming towards you and going away. It doesn't have an actual path, it's a tree. But looks like it's coming towards you and going away because you're turning beneath it. That's Coriolis. So therefore, you're turning beneath the ball as it curves through the goal, says Neil deGrasse Tyson, in line with the rhetoric. Big problem when you point out that Earth ain't turning underneath aeroplanes or hot air balloons or drones or helicopters or anything that's in the air for a substantial period of time, and you would think would be your go-to to prove that it is. Oh, look, this is in the air for only an hour and a half as it travels from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, because Earth's turning beneath it. That's why when you look at the plane, it looks like it's curving. It's not actually curving. It's just we're turning beneath it. Said nobody ever. It doesn't happen. We don't observe drift. That flight takes 4.5 hours, not an hour and a half. Earth isn't turning beneath Jack.
Can I attack the axial rotation claim?
Yes, this is where I wanted to... I forgot, and I'm glad you've butted in at the right moment. Can you round this out beautifully for the cherry on top? Go ahead, father of a stolen child.
Well, everything that we just talked about is sort of begging the question that there is an axis to be a non-inertial reference frame. We need a measured R value before we can have an axis. So we'll need that first.
Perfect. So at the beginning of this, largely a diatribe from me, but this discussion about axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, aka the claim Earth spins, I told father of a stolen child, not now at the beginning of that discussion, because it's required that we assume we've got a radius value to calculate this 15 degrees an hour of rotation with now. And we've debunked R. Any evidence of the R value?
It's measured flat.
Did I go through my email to Dave Weiss or DITRH or the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock app channels on YouTube in regards to everything that dies on its arse as a result of R dying? I think I did actually read it out. I don't think I'll do it again. I think I did do it. Did I do it? Am I imagining that?
I think you did yesterday.
I think I did.
In the pre-show, I believe.
Yeah, I think it might have been. Either way, I have already done it, so I won't do it again. But
Right,
basically,
once you negate R, the circle is broken.
the question I got from DITRH was in regards to somebody using an alternative curve maths formula and slightly opposing the 8 inches per mile squared. I've seen this come up a few times in comments, but my response was to say it's all based on R. You've got to have an R value, and we've debunked it, and then list off all of the things like we're doing now. Axial rotation. Are you going to need radians then? That's a shame. Well, that dies on its ass before we talk about non-inertial spinning reference frames. Where's your R value coming from? Watch the tumbleweeds. No
Yeah,
R
can I add
value then.
something to that?
Go ahead, whoever that is.
It was me, Stag. From last week when now Virus was saying that he could get the radius R value from a different method. That even that method goes back to begging the question because he just plugs it into a circumference calculator. So how do you even know there is a circumference to calculate?
Spot on.
Right?
Yes,
Isn't
you've
that
got to
the
assume a
Because you
sphere in
have
the
a
first instance.
calculator.
Really?
Yeah,
Because they have a calculator. They named it Earth curve calculator. Therefore, every time you calculate, you get Earth curve. There you go.
but before that, I think Stagoli's saying, well, before you even do any measurements to derive R to formulate a curve calculator, you've got to beg the question and say, well, I'm now going to be measuring it with the assumption that I am measuring a sphere to begin with. I am going to be measuring it as a sphere. So I think Stagoli's point is that even prior to anything being done, you're still going to have to beg the question, and he's absolutely right.
Correct. I agree. Good one.
Yeah. How many
Yeah,
times
we
did you
never
ask
really
Virus?
got
Go ahead, Stagoli. It's your point. Feel free.
Oh, sorry, Chocolate. I was just saying that we never really got resolution on that argument last week. I think he started referencing or something like that. But that is, you were leading him to that, and but it never got said that even if he has those, so he was taking the one angle at one distance and then moving out like a mile, taking another angle of Polaris. You do all that. Get the numbers, get the values, plug, and then he plugs it into a circumference calculator. It's like, dude, you don't see that. It's just begging the question. It's nuts.
No, he
And
does see that. That's his trick. He does see that. And between all this high-pitched screaming, I couldn't understand the word he was saying anyway.
So
Yeah,
is he saying that he can measure the R value based on looking at lights in the sky and their rate of change?
Yeah, he's assuming a 90-degree angle to Polaris and then moving backwards. Wow. That's what he's doing.
So he is assuming he's on a ball and he's attributing all of that change to curvature of the land he's on.
Correct.
And nothing
Well,
else.
That's how he knows. That's how he knows he's moving backwards on a ball, because he's moving backwards on a ball.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah, but he
correct.
denies it. He denies it.
Right.
And I never once said we're on a sphere.
But so let's just do. I just give props again to Stagoli because this is his point. But this is exactly Stagoli's point. The first step in any claim to be proof of a sphere will always be to assume a sphere first.
The circumference, hey everyone, the circumference of their equator line is based on their R value. That circumference of their equator line is only there because of their R value. Everything starts with their R value. So anyone that's matching anything to the globe Earth circumference will have to first produce a radius measurement, which they won't do.
Ooch, that's a problem.
What? No.
You can have one of those.
Arwin. Hello. Go ahead, Arwin.
No. Did you summon me? You use my terminology, equator length, yeah? No, first you measure the equator length derived from the celestial orientation, and then you establish that it will have to be a radius, right? It's interconnected like a circle. And you then...
Are you being Baldwin now?
Yeah, duh. You're using my terminology.
Okay. Hold on, Arwin.
Can I just be Adam?
Hold on, Adam. Hold on. Baldwin hasn't actually overcome the objection yet. So the objection is the presupposition before making that derivation of the celestial bodies, which I'll let slide in this instance just for the example. So other than your assumption that celestial movement is occurring on the outside extremity of a sphere, Arwin, you haven't actually overcome that objection. That's the main objection in this case. I wanted to see how quick you could overcome it. You haven't yet. I just want to point that out.
But that's what you do afterward.
What? So you're saying my overcome is to say, no, I'm going to assume it's the outside edge of a sphere after I've got the averages of the celestial movements. Yeah, that's not going to help you, Arwin.
Well, you don't need to consider it to be that in the first instance. You just take the derivative from the celestial orientations. You don't have to think anything about it. You can still assume it's just random lights in the skies, but this is how they're ordered. And then you have the equator length. And then you turn that into a radius.
Okay, that's fine. So this non-existent arbitrary circle on the ground is just a circle on the ground now. Well, that's nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
Well, it doesn't do anything for a sphere, though, does it? If it's just a circle on the ground, that's the averages of the celestial movements across the ground, and then that point gives you a circle. Yeah, so that proves sphere how? When you haven't begged the question? You haven't, Arwin. You haven't got to it yet.
Well, it has an element that is integral to a sphere, and that is a circle.
So beg the question. Okay. Yeah, see how quick this is
Oh.
ending. Stagoli, kudos. Yeah, it's always worth
The
remembering.
begging the question is afterward.
Yeah, you've got to beg the question though, and it's one of those things that when I first discovered this, it's like you start pointing out left, right, and centre because everything's based on a begging the question of a sphere, and sometimes you forget. You know, you still want to unpack the arguments, but it's always good to go back to grassroots, eh, Stag? Just begging the question.
That's right, man. All they do is calculate. And when they say that, you know they're begging the question.
Yeah, Baldwin's interjections are going to be a lot shorter now that you've reminded me of that.
Aw.
Just tell him to skip to the end where you're begging the question.
Yeah, just skip to the
Look,
skip
I
to the
have,
bit where you
guys,
say on a
as Baldwin,
sphere.
I have no objections to you saying, or you end up presupposing a globe. That's fine. I just want to be very specific that in the establishment and the measurement of the radius, the begging the question comes afterward. Right? I take pride in that. You can't tell us that we're presupposing it before we engage. That's not true in this case.
Well, you're completely in line with just Phil because that's what he says. That yes, we presuppose what the Earth is. That's how we come up with the model.
After
Well,
Adam, I'd like
thanks,
to take
just
the
Phil.
step.
Sorry.
Well, Baldwin does not associate with him.
So the actual quote was, Nathan Oakley says, we presuppose the R value. Pause. Well, yes! End quote. Phil Bell.
That one is good.
That was great, man. Oh my god.
Without any irony in his voice. So he doesn't know how ironic it is that he says that.
Yeah, because he didn't realize, like, for years we've been telling these guys, these clowns, that that's what they've been doing, is presupposing. Getting them to try to say that. And then
do you know
he
the
comes
first
out
to do
the
it
gate,
was?
like, hey.
Do you know the pioneer of this? I'm sure the pioneer is actually Quantum Eraser. Before I get comments from Quantum Eraser saying, no, it was obviously me, right? Don't want to hear it. As far as this story is concerned, the pioneer of this is Betty Van Velsen. And she did it with GeoStreber. And one of the formulations that he presented on screen, I think it was Boltzmann. I can't remember. It's not that relevant. But there was the R value in it. And Betty said, where are you getting R from? And the response was, and I quote, we are presupposing this R. End quote. GeoStreber.
But why is that shocking? They always say that. We all know we're on a sphere.
Yeah, presupposing this R.
GeoStreber actually said that.
Yes, he did. That's a
Well, someone said it
quote.
before him, but I'd like to go after Adam gets his 2 cents in.
Just to go to the presupposition of where this claim is, the presupposition is to assume you're on a ball. You then assume that if you look at Polaris in this case and move south, that the change in altitude angle of the star is attributed to, like I said, rotating backwards. So that's its only cause. That is a measurement. You can measure that angle change. It's the presupposition that angle change means angular change of the ground. From that, what is it, sort of 69 miles or something per degree. You can then pre-assume that by 360 to give you a circumference value, which you can then calculate your R from. But I challenge Owen, it all begins again with a presupposition you're on the ball.
Hold on. Yes, that was beautifully detailed and absolutely correct, I might add, Adam. However, what Arwin's saying is, right, in this process where the mathematical presupposition comes first, which is what you're pointing out, Arwin's saying, no, but the in-the-field measurement, that's gathered by elves that don't even know what the measurement's for. So we get the measurements
Hey, don't
first.
mock my people.
But because they go and get this measurement of a star dropping towards the horizon as they move away from it, they're not making any presuppositions, and they're making the measurement of it. So the presupposition, therefore, comes after. How can you call it a presupposition? It's not pre anymore. It came after. Right, Arwin, it's crap.
It's a double blind measurement. I like it, Arwin, yeah.
That's
Crap.
right, the double-blind presupposition.
You're a bugger.
All right, Nathan, I've got a picture of Master B. Tell me when you got that.
Okay, let's have a looky. Assume I've got it up. I will in 10 seconds.
I was just going to say it wasn't begging the question wasn't so bad when I thought I could measure to a geometric horizon, or that the horizon was geometric. You know, it wasn't so bad to beg the question then.
I've got it up now, 10th, so we're all sorted. Good point. Indeed, father of a stolen child. It's far easier to say we already know we're on a sphere if in the back of your mind you're under the assumption that it has actually been measured, and that measurement would require a geometric horizon, and you don't have one anymore, so you can't measure a sphere, so presupposing a sphere is in no way justified anymore. Go ahead, 10th, your presentation. Parallel sun raises up.
No, it's Eratosthenes one. You see that? With
Yes.
the globe?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, Adam, for setting it up so beautifully. You didn't even know what I was going to do, but this is there's nothing new under the sun, as it's been said. So Eratosthenes did this already. The well at Cyan at the equinox, no shadow. The pole in Alexandria was slight shadow, and 7 degrees. So we assume it's a sphere, and we're going to come out with a circumference. So this trick has been going on all the time. He assumed the shadow was caused by the curvature of the ground rather than on a flat plane and the angle of the sun to that pole in Alexandria, where it's not directly over 90 degrees. So this trick is old, not new. Virus fell for it.
Wait, so if I replicate this on my dining room table, have I proven that my dining room table is a sphere?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. No, you can see it done. You can put a couple of lights up, move the light along, see how the shadow moves on a flat surface and induce the same effect. It's only
Dr.
the
Zap
assumption
did
of
it.
a spherical surface that gives
Only
you
if
the
the
measure.
table is inside of a planetarium would that work.
Yes, thank you,
No,
Arwin.
Dr. Zach did it, Arwin. He takes it. He's got little batteries or screws, I think it is, and he takes the light at the top, yeah. And if you pre-assume you're on a ball and take those measurements, he mathematically proves that that tabletop is a ball.
Bob Joe?
No, it would be a ball projection. Let's get it right.
No, it would be a ball. It'd just have the effects of curvature collapse when you actually measured it. But, you know, you negate the curvature collapse by assuming an R value for the table, assuming that when you move back, it's actually caused from the curved surface of the table that you haven't got. So, you know, that's all fine and dandy in Arwin world, isn't it?
That's not fair. You're not supposed to use my
It's not
mathematician
fair.
against
So I'm going to label this show the one where Baldwin takes a beating.
Meanie.
I've noticed your titles. It's pretty funny.
What, you like my friend's
You
tiling
can't
structure?
use the curvature collapse in an example to prove why a table is actually a sphere. That's not fair.
It is fair. Don't have to like it, Baldwin.
Good old curve function collapse. I like that one.
Yeah, there's nothing more irritating than hearing your own example parroted back to you in a way that debunks one of your own claims. Very, very frustrating, even for Baldwin. And he's playing this character. He's not actually going to lose any sleep over this.
That's right. But it comes with being an actual baller zealot, you don't lose any sleep anyhow, because in the end you always know that at least the Earth is a ball, no matter what.
We can find that out from...
That's the warm blankie.
Is that true? John, hold on. Let's get an opinion from someone who's at least got the memory of being a anti-flat earther reasonably fresh in their mind. Is that true? Did you lose any sleep over this stuff? probably dealing with a nappy or something.
Well, when I was not acting like I was,
or when John.
No, but back in the day, I did not lose sleep over the idea that there's something wrong with the Earth. It might not be. We have all the data about how the space and the ball Earth is, right? I got onto that. I didn't lose sleep over it. I lost sleep over the realization that everything we get taught is basically a mock-up lie. That was the part that really made me restless back in the day and made me forget, right? Not the mechanics, that's just secondary to that detail, to the teachings that are wrong. That was the shocking part.
Ask someone else a question, Nathan, for Owen to answer.
Yeah.
I don't know if John's free. Are you free,
the
John,
real
or are you
John,
changing a diaper?
No, I'm here. I just thought that was a good answer. But yeah, I used to get really irritated and have long nights of typing in people's comments.
Perfect. Yeah. Go ahead.
And can I ask, just out of curiosity, did you feel like that was getting you somewhere, or like did you feel like that was being productive, or after that did you just like I guess you couldn't sleep after that, or what was the psychology going on behind you when you're just typing away at comments?
I wanted to believe that that everybody that disagreed with it was stupid and lying, and I thought if I could just expose them for lying, everything would be okay again.
Right,
but I guess my question is why would you think like, okay, so there's this group of people on the internet that are lying about this particular subject. Why did it irk you so much? Like, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, why did it irk you so much that you felt you needed to interject yourself into this?
Because I thought I met, that we could measure curvature. I thought we could measure a sphere. I thought, that'd been done. You were arguing with facts, I thought.
Can I answer the question too, from my experiences?
What, again?
Because
again?
What?
Hold on, just 1 second. Who's presenting?
It was just me. I'll put it in the chat in a second. I'm just trying to find it. But this is the setup that Dr. Zach does, where he put screws on, draws it all out, takes the measurements, measures the length of the shadows, goes on, does the maths, like I said, and demonstrably proves that flat tabletop is a ball.
Yay.
Right. But I never personally engaged in like going after flat earthers, right? Because on a visceral level, I would feel that there's something really wrong about me and not them. But I can imagine that if you cannot detect this on an intuitive level when it happens, you will go after them as a pure projection effort, because they basically prove to you everything you've been taught is a lie. And you can't accept that. So you're going to switch it around and say, no, everything you're saying is a lie, because all of that I got taught can't be a lie. And so you keep in that projection mode. I personally never went there, but I've seen a lot of people do go there.
John, who was your main target? I heard you say that you used to go after John the Morgile.
Yeah, because he had a lot of the videos he did was talking about celestial movements. So that kind of made him an easy target when you're begging the question of a sphere. If you can, imagine the celestial sphere, then you
like how you said, imagine.
Yeah, because it's pieced together from observation. It's not nobody's ever observed the celestial sphere.
Yeah.
Does other John the Morgile know this?
Oh, I'm nobody to him, probably. Just a faceless troll.
Did he ever respond to you in the comments?
I usually when I commented, I never went back and checked them. He may have, I'll go see if I can find my old account and go looking.
I mean, it's just such a useful resource because if he's anything like me, he will remember your comments. If they were as insightful as I would imagine they would be, based on my experience and interaction with you as a flat earther, I would imagine that your comments at least once or twice would have invoked a reaction. And those things, they're kind of, normally they stay with you. You know what you've done. People's memory isn't that bad, so I would imagine he will remember. And I if he does, I'd be really intrigued to get his thoughts on it. It's a shame you never left me any comments, but there we go. Yeah, if you're listening, or if somebody can let John the Morgile know that we've been discussing him, that'd be really helpful. Could be a useful resource. We'll see.
What's his YouTube channel? I forgot.
The Morgile.
I was just trying to get a plug in there for him.
Yeah, I was going to do it once this air cleared. So yeah, exactly. Shout out to the Morgile. Go and subscribe today to his insightful videos. Been around as long as I have, if not longer.
Nathan, can you put up the slide to Master B, please, once it comes?
Sure. Okay.
Celestial sphere. Imaginary.
So done, yeah. That didn't take long.
Well, that was quick. Shall I take it off again?
Something to present in a minute there, Nathan. Just give me 5 minutes, okay?
Okay. We've covered distance to the sun, axial rotation, and Earth-based variety, Earth curvature, horizons that are physical. What we haven't covered is distance to the centre of Earth by way of a self-perpetuating molten iron core. Any evidence thereof?
I saw this movie last night called 2012 where the iron core was melting and the whole world was destroyed. So there's an iron core because it was in a movie.
Any actual evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Hold on. The actual evidence that we went to the moon was on TV. So if that's believed, then why not this movie?
You got to have R, Neil. You got to have R in the first place.
Well, as you bring it up, Neil, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon, i.e., any evidence that we could have a sky vacuum to travel through to reach the moon to dupe people on TV, when the gas we're breathing would all be capable of expanding into the availability of volume that would be that sky vacuum, and we'd all be dead if it was the case. I.e., is there any proof of a sky vacuum? Space.
Well, if you don't have the firmament as a dome, yeah, then you have an area for the gas molecules to go.
Yeah, the fact that we're still breathing negates the whole notion that there's a vacuum when I go outside and look up.
But there's a
vacuum.
constant. No, what about a constant? It's constantly producing this oxygen from ground level. Constantly, that's what I heard.
Ground level.
Oh, right.
Producing and going. So if it's constantly producing, it's blowing right by us and we're breathing, but it's a constant thing.
Yeah, it would be greater than... I mean, it would be exponentially more than hurricane force winds coming up from the ground continually to negate the entropy increase that would be the gas filling the space and still maintaining anything that was breathable. You'd literally have a hurricane of gas going past you continually.
You beat me to it by like 2 seconds.
That's not the first time I've heard that argument before. And I said the same thing. Like, what do you think? There's just like a big fan underneath us just blowing air up? Like, the world doesn't work like that. They were like, no, for real. I was like, no, that's not how that works, man. Get out of here with that crap. It's crazy.
Any evidence of a high-speed fan in the center of Earth?
No, we've got plenty of gas cycles, and in order to have anything to do with gas and pressure, we need containment. It's just that simple.
So Nathan, what would you consider those people that come up with these ideas? They just ballers or anti-flat earthers?
They have an oscillating fan, Neil.
I think we've got people generally have got amazing brains, and when you put up against the wall, in this case with a contradiction, you're gonna find explanations that can work around it, and in so doing, you're gonna have bits of that explanation that are pull up or take apartable, whatever the word is, by us. And an example of that would be Andrew Thomas Young. He's detailing how you can refract a horizon with a geometric value of r with terrestrial rates that are varied based on whatever you need them to be varied on. Well, he still needs r. And in part of his explanation, he details how the apparent horizon will be visible and geometric at some stage. Until now, we have considered the point X as the geometric horizon. You're like, oh, right, so it's just a consideration that you're going to need to measure to move the horizon to a non-geometric position. Well, that's his wonderful, beautiful mind as a person figuring out a problem that needs a solution. You could say the same about dark matter. You could say the same about a whole number of things. It's just squaring the circle, my father used to call it.
Well, what else are you going to do when what you're actually doing is measuring a flat plane? You got to take geometric considerations, right? So you got to consider that it's a ball, even though what you just measured was a flat plane.
That's such a beautiful way of saying begging the question, isn't it? Considerations.
Let's take in some geometric considerations. After saying all of this mathematical calculation has been done on a flat plane. How precious.
Just in case I get any cocky comments, my dad saying, how am I going to square that circle, was in reference to him programming on a computer as opposed to being a Freemason. Just want to drop that in.
Well, you could always use your brick analogy to gain favor.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's that?
What is it?
Yeah, what is that?
Turns out that there's this magic speed.
But seriously, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, what's that again?
I'm being asked. It's not my claim. It's somebody else. Any Globers want to tell us what gravity is?
How can you assert Earth is a mass with a known density if you don't know the volume of it?
Can't you just use an R value to derive the volume?
That's a problem.
Why would that be a problem?
Is that not the purpose of balls in a shed, really?
Balls in a shed. How is good old Cavendish doing? It's been a while.
Oh, here we go. This sounds science. What was that? Cavendish?
You see what you did, Adam?
Yes. The balls in a shed is the way I describe it.
Just not got enough drama. A long time ago.
Well, there.
Go ahead.
In a shed, far, far away.
You got it. Stood a man
a
looking
total
for a
recluse claimed to have done stuff, and then a priest came along and verified it.
But how can you figure out the density of Earth like he claimed that he was doing if you don't know the volume because you can't measure the radius?
You don't. And this cuts through the crap real quick, doesn't it, John? And I love it. I love you for it. Exactly. Every single one of these arguments, you just cut through the crap really quickly by pointing out, all right, center of mass 1. You're going to need a radius for that.
Yeah, that's the Einsteinian gravity. It has Earth as m1, and in Newtonian, it has Earth as m2. And both of them are assuming a radius.
Bye-bye, gravity. What about any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Is it you, Adam, that wanted to present something before I move on?
I think that's me. No.
No, it's
Is it?
Brian. I think he's just getting
It's
ready.
me, Nathan. I'll be a couple of minutes presenting it now, so I'll
No
kind of
worries.
switch topics a little bit.
Let's just rattle through the rest of the housekeeping questions. I think there's only one more. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nope. Want to hear what Brian says?
Perfect. Brian,
No.
floor's all yours. Did you say you need a couple more minutes, or it'll take a couple of minutes?
No, it'll just take a couple of minutes.
Okay, you're on.
Okay,
Ready when you are.
I'll go ahead with it. Okay, thank you. Okay, last night I went on to Brandon's, and there was some. I don't even know the claim that was being made. That's how little I know about it. But there was some claim being made that's based on something that Ruhif has done. I'm just going to get out of this a sec. Now, basically, Ruhif, this is a panorama here I'm going to show in a second, from Mount Canago across I can't remember the name of the ocean or the sea or whatever, to land across the way here on a lot of mountains. Now, basically, Ruhif took some part of this and then, I don't know, counted pixels, whatever stuff that they do, and said that 50,000 feet of a mountain is missing, this kind of rubbish. So I went in there and I tried to get some information. I'm just going to blow it up a bit here. I went in there and tried to get some information, right? Last night. I'm feeding back on someone there. And I got some information originally when I first went into Brandon's about the distance to it. But I was trying to find the information of, and Adam would remember this, I was trying to find the information of from the shoreline that we can see to the peak of the mountain that's been claimed to be thousands of feet behind the Earth curve. And I got some information then on that. But then Ruhif came in, and I asked Ruhif, and he wouldn't tell me anything. And then Gem Panda jumped in and helped them not tell me, because they didn't want to tell me, because they knew I'd debunk their nonsense very easily. So I ended up with Gleam telling me stuff that was confusing the matter. And then they joined in, or other people joined in, that was completely confusing the matter. Because I was being given, what was wrong was I was being given a distance from, I was looking for the distance from the visible shoreline here to the peak of whatever mountain they were claiming, right? Because we can see all the way to the shoreline. This is taken from 9,000 feet up in Mount Canago, right? And we can see all the way to this shoreline across here. So I wanted to know, okay, so what is the distance from that shoreline to the mountain? To the peak of the mountain that's been claimed to be thousands of feet behind the curve, right? And they wouldn't give me the information. Gleam tried to give me information, but he was giving me information that was based on where the cameraman was to the nearest shoreline, which would be the one in front of him, right? Which was not what I was looking for. So I had to go. So I ended up having an argument, and I even had an argument with Brandon, because Brandon wasn't seeing what I was talking about at all, and he was saying I was being triggered. And I was just trying to get some basic information, and no one would give it to me. And I knew why they wouldn't give it to me. Ruhif knew why he wouldn't give it to me. And Gem Panda knew why Ruhif wouldn't give it to me. And that is because I was going to completely destroy their city claim. So this is the panorama, right? That their section, well, I don't even know their section because I paid no attention to it. Because it's just, they're using this, as Quantum Racer said. He said it's just Blackpool Swan 2.0. Because they're doing the exact same stuff, right? So this is the panorama. I'm going to make it even bigger, right? This is the panorama, right, across, that was taken from Mount Canago across to where, to all the land across here, right? Now, this is the extent of it here. Now, I pointed out, I said, we're looking at the shoreline of Marseille. I said, are we looking at the shoreline of Marseille in that photograph? Because I asked for information, and I was told, go off and Google it. Download Google Earth, all this rubbish. No one would give me, they wouldn't, Ruhif and Gem Panda would call me an idiot. They wouldn't help me with anything. I said, it's your claim. I said, you're the ones making the claim. I must ask for some details about your claim, and you won't give it to me. And I knew why they won't give it to me. But so they said, get Google Earth, blah, blah. So, okay, I went off. I opened Google Earth. Marseille, this over here. This is the Marseille region over here, right? So we're basically seeing the shoreline of Marseille. These are all man-made structures all along the water here. Now, there may be a bit of inferior mirage or something because there always seems to be at the shoreline area. But all along here, these are all I'll just make it bigger, right? These are all man-made structures all along here, right? And I think I haven't looked now. I haven't looked, but I don't know. This is a wind farm of some kind here. It looks like. This is 156 miles away to Marseille, right, from the photographer's position. The photographer, according to their globe mathematics, their geometric horizon has to be 116.19 miles away. So this is over 40 miles further than their geometric horizon, right? Yeah, absolutely destroying their claim, and he didn't want. Look at all these man-made structures. Really was trying to in the after. I didn't get to even go through this on Brandon's show. It was in his after show. I ended up arguing with him about it again, and I was pointing out about Marseille, because. But it gets even worse because if I go down here to I'm looking for Mount. I'm just going to have to zoom out. Mount Pouget, wherever that's gone to. It's somewhere there. I find it here now. Mount Pouget. It is a bit awkward to find Mount Pouget. It's close to. It's close to. 1 second. Just give me a moment here. Mount Pouget. It's close to Marseille. There it is. Mount Pouget, right? Mount Pouget here, right? I'm going to blow it up a bit, right? Mount Pouget down here, right? If you do the hidden value for the distance to Mount Pouget, which is 160 miles, and then you do what they were doing, which is angular size change calculations, right? Right? If you just do the hidden value to Mount Pouget
Hold on.
on their globe,
Sorry. You said if they're doing angular size change, you said they're measuring by pixel. Did they take a theodolite out there?
I don't know what they're doing. They're just making a claim about a particular place. Now that claim is already debunked by Marseille, right? Anyway, it's debunked from there's no geometric horizon. Anyway, but I'm just pointing out something here that completely destroys them. Mount Pouget here, I'm going to show it on Google Earth, right? There's where Mount Pouget is. I'll see if I can just zoom in a bit. Right? Mount Pouget is not too far back from the coast, right? So it's close enough to the coast. This over here, right? That's all Marseille over here, right? There's Mount Pouget over here. So it's not far back from the waterline. Mount Pouget isn't. Now, the thing about that is this. Mount Pouget, if you take their maths and take their hidden value, right, their geometric hidden value, and that would mean Mount Pouget should only be 132 feet above. I think it's 132 or 135 feet above the waterline, right? Now, that is a problem because there's objects over here along the shoreline here that are as high as that and higher. This is Mount Pouget here. And if we did what they were doing, I'm just destroying, this doesn't matter, but I'm just destroying their silly claims. So if I just go into the angular size calculator, I'm after losing it. I'm after losing the angle, but the angle is tiny. The angle to Mount Pouget is like 0.0000 something. I may as well deal with while I'm here, right? Angle, degrees. So size 132, and it's 160 miles to. I'm just going to get the right. So 160, right? It's going to convert length miles to feet, right? 844,799, right? So distance 844,799.9, right? Calculate. Yeah, it's 0.00. Right, I'm going to zoom in. 0.00895525. That is the angular size, according to their nonsense, that Mount Pouget would be if their globe claim was attainable. But this is Mount Pouget in the photograph. So I don't know what they're. The only reason I'm showing all this, it doesn't really matter, is that basically what they're after doing is they're after taking another much bigger image, which obviously this is a huge image because it's a panorama, right? And they're after taking some part of it and claiming some mountain in the background without using without adding any visual effects like visual occultation or anything as optical drop, anything, right? They just stated, supposedly Ruhi is stating, and others are joining in with them, that some mountain is thousands of feet below the cove. Now, how can these buildings here, right, be in a place that's 156 miles away when they should be well down behind our globe, our geometric horizon that doesn't exist? And how can Mount Bouguer be only 132 feet? Right, that's only 130 feet. I just got to zoom out, right?
The bit,
You're
right?
frustrating me. I don't like it because you're going on a ball with them.
No. Well, yeah, no. It was funny last night. There's two bits I want to address. The first bit's in terms of what QE's saying, and I think what Nathan was about to bring in. Yeah, we've not even got to this bit of destruction with it, which is they want to take angular size as demonstrated there. And the bit Nathan's saying is, have they measured these angular sizes? No. And this is what I was challenging them on, Nathan, before we even get to that bit, is what they're trying to do is take an orthographic understanding and then apply it to a photograph still. They're trying to transpose those two sets of maths, which don't mix. And that's what Gleam was showing with some of the optical citations. So fundamentally, I'm not going to, as Neil says, I'm not going to get on that ball with them, because the first thing they're trying to do is conflate things that don't mix, which is the maths they're trying to mix. Secondly, is what you said at the beginning, Brian, the basic numbers I took, and that's when I just started laughing at Jem and that, was the viewer height, the distance to the mountain they were claiming, and that huge distance across the sea. Now, the killer is their geometric horizon should be 116. The figures I managed to get out of them was it's about 160, 170 to the shoreline and 200 and a bit to the mountain in the background. So that means this is another black swan, because their geometric horizon should be blocking 3/4 of the way across that sea. And we see to the shore. So
shout out to Godzilla37, says Canada owning the chat this morning. So have some of this Canadian money and stand in awe of its incredible spending power. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Godzilla, and massive thank you to both Brian and Adam for making that presentation possible, along with all the interjections that we got from a few other people on the panel. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow, and I'm sure we'll discuss this imagery a little bit further. However, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, or joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
And stick it on a photo, and ta-da, there you go. It shows it's not a flat pen. But what they're not doing, and what you're alluding to, and what we did with the Blackpool Swan is, all right, go and stick it on your geometry, and then tell me how much of the mountain you can see. And that's what you were highlighting. There should be none of that. But the methodology they're using to use the photo to compare is just, frankly, if it was the other way around back in Isle of Man days, their standards are so low. They're so much lower than what they held us to.
Yeah. This is anti-flat earthers, though, isn't it? When they came to us with the Isle of Man, they were globers. Remember back in the day when they used to tell us how much geometric sphere edge horizon would get in the way of the Isle of Man? Yeah, back in the day, they used to go to the curve calculator, tell us it's okay to beg the question of R, and then tell us how the physical geometry caused a blockage. now they go to the calculator to dip out some of the values based on R and then ascribe them to angular sizes that they're going to use a convoluted gaggle screw of nonsense to assert that they've got dropped behind things that aren't in relevance to the geometric horizon they haven't got. I mean, they're so away with the fairies in terms of this stuff, and as you say, their standards are so low, it is laughable now.
Well,
Can I add one more thing regarding that photo?
FEEG, go ahead.
I might be wrong, but aren't they supposed to account for the field of view? I mean, it's a camera they're using, and or the camera being used in the photo. What if it's zoomed in, right? You have a field of view or like an angular scale for the camera being used. And they're not accounting for that. All they're using is the size of the object and the distance to it. That's a very simple formula, but they're not accounting for the angular scale of the camera or the field of view in degrees, right?
That's correct. Yeah, Adam alluded to it just at the end of the live show. So they're putting it into perspective orientation that doesn't include perspective. That would be an orthographic representation. Now, we call that Muppet vision. Now, the way you know they're doing that when they present it is they'll show you the side of your own head or your own eyeball, and you on the left-hand side of the page, the target on the right, and they'll ascribe a feet and inches or meters value to that target so that the value for the target doesn't change. And when you draw a line between the eyeball on the left-hand side of the page and the target on the right-hand side of the page, you can write whatever value you like on the line. You can say it's 1,000,000 miles in scale. No, it doesn't matter because it's orthographic view, right? As long as I've got the feet and inches value, that never changes. So that's perfectly acceptable, right? Other than the angular size would change as it got further away. Completely hijacked and removed from the begging the question proof of, I think, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculator, as Adam alluded to on the end of the live show. Sorry, Adam.
Well, I just Brian, Summer, what he's showed last night is as well with regards to the Muppet vision. They're doing the orthographic view on a flat plane to obtain that angular size. They're not doing it, as what Brian said, on a ball. So then it's really, really poor, the maths they're using. But like I said, I think this must be because they're not trying to demonstrate that this shows a ball, because it doesn't, as Brian alluded to. They're just trying to say it's not a flat plane, and that's how weak they've come.
I don't know who to ascribe it to. It's just follow the leader. So originally, somebody says, okay, we've got to start talking about angular size. Well, how do we acquire it on a curved surface? As Adam's pointing out, you don't. So I know, let's acquire it from a flat plane, because it's the only way we can acquire it, and then burn that as a straw man. Now, that was what they did, a couple of months ago? And it's now play follow my leader and just keep doing it until, somebody in their own side points out how nonsensical it is to acquire the angles from a flat plane so that you can burn them later as a straw man. It's like, this is just turning into a three-ring circus.
But
and then it's the criticism that QE's got.
I'm a little bit confused.
They're taking this angle, but they're taking it from the orthographic projection, and then they're sticking it on the picture. But at no point has the angle been actually measured that mountain took up. At no point. It's just all assumed and then kind of bastardized into the picture by, like I said, with the presentation I did on the Blackpool one, by sticking rulers on it as if. I think this is what someone in Discord was saying. There's no account for the camera type or anything with regards to converting that orthographic view into your picture. How you transpose that data, there's just nothing. They just crudely slam the ruler on and go, look, ta-da! Therefore, look, it doesn't match. Therefore, off that mountain must be buried under the sea or due to earth curve. It can't be.
I'm curious as to if this is such strong evidence for their claims. Why were they so hesitant to give Brian any information that he asked? I don't know.
That's exactly what I was. That's exactly the argument I had, and I was told that I was getting triggered. That's what Brandon said. I was getting triggered. You know what I mean? It's like, no, they won't give me the information because they know I'm going to absolutely destroy them. Right? Because
but then any other flat earther on that panel should have realized, hey, this guy's asking you a question. Why don't you just give him the information if you guys are making a claim? He's just asking you info about your claim. What's the problem? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think one or two people tried to say something, but they just couldn't get anything in. But it was mainly like because Brandon was running the show. Obviously, it's his show, and you had Jem Panda shouting over everyone, and in the background you had Ruhif calling me and everyone idiots. And then Brandon basically said, I'm getting triggered. Like, we need to move on. You keep on asking the same question. This kind of stuff, you're just getting triggered. It's like, so I got muted then. I don't know if Brandon muted me or who muted me, but I got muted, the server muted. And it's just like, I'm looking for information to debunk this silly claim. Why won't anyone give it to me? And why, when I'm looking for it, why am I told I'm triggered? Because I have to keep on asking the same question because I can't get the straight information. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But
Yeah,
look,
that's real funny style, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You know, look, I'm just going to show something here, right? Mount Puget, according to their model, right, would be 132 feet high. Now, Mount Puget is 1,410 feet, I saw on Google Earth. So there's a little building over here. I wonder if that building is close to 100 foot, 130 foot. Do you know what I mean? And there's Mount Puget over here, right? I mean, somewhere over here, it's over at the back there. But the thing about it is that there you go, Mount Puget is like, that's not 132 foot for a start. They have to take all their angles across a flat plane. They have to completely ignore their geometric horizon, which is where I was going straight to, and that's where I went to. Sorry, 1 second, Adam. That was the whole point of this, is that I went straight to the geometric horizon. Go on, Adam, sorry.
No, just zoom back in a little bit and
at the building.
My ruler's point of view, even on that image, is 100 foot at the bottom of that mountain the same number of pixels as 100 foot at the top of the mountain?
No, that was what I pointed out to Ruhif too.
No, because
the response. Hold on. I've got the response too. The response was to ask me, well, how much of a difference is it between the top and the bottom? My response to them, so there's a difference then. Yeah,
there's a gradiated angular size change, you see, because the mountain is the top of that mountain, let's say above that building. That's not in a direct, let's say, cliff face straight up. That's going back. That could be miles and miles back from that top of that building. So where that mountain is, the top amount of pixels there that would match the amount of pixels here, that'd be a completely different angular size change than what's going on here. It's gradiated because the mountains are gradiated, aren't they?
Yeah. Mountain at the top, far away. Mountain at the bottom, close.
I think I can put this into an analogy with unicorns, because like the original claim was that horses were unicorns, the horizon's geometric. And then we pointed out that the horizon wasn't geometric. We pointed out, horses aren't unicorns. So now they're trying to debunk that horses exist. They're, by showing pictures of horses, that, they're trying to say that these measurements of a flat plane doesn't exist. Look at this flat plane.
Yeah, I'm going to show how we haven't got a flat plane beneath our feet, but in order to do so, I must first acquire angles from a flat plane, because it's the only way I can do this. But then later, I'm going to say that that's wrong, because it's the only thing I'm being ascribed to this angular measurement that I'm going to acquire to then slap rulers arbitrarily all up and down this picture, because every single line on this page is representative of a 2D side profile measurement that he's got for each and individual point without any account for any optics whatsoever. That's where they've derived all of these numbers from. Meanwhile, they haven't got an R value to ascribe or acquire from these geometric mathematics. We've debunked them. So this is just nonsense. It's a waste of our time, really.
It is, and that's why I went straight to Marseille. I said, right, is Marseille in that photograph? And I showed that Marseille is in the after show. Marseille was 156 miles away, so they don't have an R value. Their R value would be destroyed by this photograph, because this photograph is showing the shoreline of Marseille. These are all buildings and stuff across here. These are all man-made structures. These are not thousands of feet up. There's parts of a city. We keep on going. There's all more man-made structures. Like, this is a fantastic flat photograph.
Do you think that if their geometric horizon actually did match their mathematics in this picture, would they have given you the information that you were asking for? You think maybe that's why
Absolutely.
you weren't getting it?
Yeah, it would have been part of the presentation if it had actually matched with their geometric R-value assumption of a horizon that matches when it's not actually a horizon at all, because we've got mountain tops that are meeting the sky now, haven't we?
Can we zoom in there, Brian? Is that not a wind farm near the shoreline?
That's what I think it is. Yeah, I think,
Can I
think it's
ask a
wind farm.
question?
Hold on, Arwin. Just go ahead, Adam and Brian.
Just as far as I'm aware, these things tend to be sited on water, and this is at the far end, so we're definitely seeing the surface of the water continue. We're not seeing it interrupted, and then basically obscuring, and then the peaks of the mountains. It's not as they're claiming. That wind farm surely demonstrates that it's not near. It's right at the far end.
Okay, Brian, then Arwin.
Sorry, Nathan?
I'm just saying Brian, then Arwin. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think that either that wind, I think that wind farm is up off of the water, but we can see that it's not far from the water. No matter what you do, when you have an horizon point, everything is compressed into that point. So you're going to have all the land that's underneath. The bit of land here that appears to be what looks like it's underneath what looks like a wind farm. That's probably very compressed, as that's what the horizon, or that's what it does. That's kind of the point where the water meets the land. Will always give you that at a big distance. But the thing about it is that there's loads of structures along here, including these here, that are of all different sizes. You have big ones and small ones, and you have very identifiable structures all along here. They can't all be thousands of feet up, on a side of a mountain.
Are we claiming this compression doesn't exist anymore?
Hold on. Arwin, did you want to ask something, Arwin?
Yes, I had a question. First off, I just noticed this photo that you posted in the Skype chat and wanted to say that's the craziest, flattest photograph I've ever seen. Literally, it's unbelievable. But there's so much stuff you can see in the details when you zoom in. How wide is it? Like, what's with the identifiable landmarks? What's the distance between it? Between one side and the other? This is so crazy broad.
It would be basically. Let's zoom out here now. You'd be basically seeing, all along here, basically all along there. Because there's an island or something here. Yes, the last thing you see in the photograph, if you look at these, I'm just going to zoom in there. You can see some kind of islands or something here, and the last thing you see in the panorama is the islands to the right. So it's basically you're seeing a lot of mountain peaks in the background. They're all over here. You're seeing about 200 miles. This is Montpellier and Marseille. Here is 156 miles from the.
300 miles.
Hold on.
So how much
200
curvature would be there?
200
miles. 200 miles.
As a panorama, hold on. Just so we're clear what's being described to Arwin, a panorama from left to right in the imagery is about 200 miles, correct?
It's 200 miles is the furthest distance you're seeing, I think, that's the distance to the mountain Rue is talking about. I don't know.
Sorry, hold on. The distance to the mountain is 200 miles, or the distance from left to right as a panorama is 200 miles?
Oh no, I don't know what the distance left to right is. I'm saying it's 200 distance. There's a 200 mile distance in Rue's claim from the photographer to a mountain. As far as left to right, I don't know what the full distance is, but it's probably close on, or maybe more. Maybe I don't know.
Okay,
but
I'd like to know.
It's all this. Yeah, it's all this region here. It's all this region here.
I'd be intrigued to know.
What's that width of that bay, Brian? Just as a
okay.
Can you just?
Because Darwin's got a good point here.
Just drag a sight line across it and see if we can get a measurement.
Down to the.
Sorry, I'm talking through you. Adam's talking through you. Sorry. Can you just drag a sight line across so we can just get a rough idea how wide the panorama is? Is that something you can do on the fly?
Yeah, I'm doing it now. There it is. You want to see a distance. I'm just about to going down from Montpellier down to this island here, and it's bigger than that. I just don't know I'd have to go looking at all the mountains. That's 122.90 miles just there. Just in, but I'd say, but the panorama is bigger again because that's only taking in the water.
Right. So just for a rough scale, somewhere between 100 and 200 miles, shall we say?
Yeah, easily, yeah, in the panorama, yeah.
Fine.
I would say.
How many inches per mile squared is that?
Right. So, if
that was my
Nathan,
question.
yeah, Owen, I've got the numbers for you. That's what I was going to do. So, if you were to look at that and assume that if we've got a 75-mile drop either side,
Hold on. Hold on.
From
Hold on.
point,
Hold on. Hold on. Can you put the panorama back up while this is? Can you start again, Adam? But can you pop the panorama while this is being discussed, please, Brian? Thank you very much. Go ahead, Adam.
So, if we assume that the center point of the photograph, either side is 75 miles distance, then as we look across the ball, we can't take 150 for a maths. We've got to take the 75. So square that and times it by 8 and divide it by 12 to give us the approximate drop. Works out at 3,750 foot. So if you look at that straight line across the picture, there should be, well, what's the height of one of the mountains, Brian? You should be able to then express in pixels what 3,375 foot is as one of those mountains. That's the difference you should see in terms of the sea level from the center, and it should be evenly drop that amount left, right extremes of the picture.
Well, I know that Mount Bouguet, the one I was looking at earlier, is 1,410.
Right.
I can't remember the heights of some of the other ones, but they're all listed here. I can find out one if you want.
Well, zoom out to full extent, and can we see Mount Bouguet? And I mean, to me, that looks pretty straight.
Mount Bouguet would be down here.
Right. So, are the extremities of the picture twice as low? Is the curvature to the extent that it'd be twice as much as Mount Bouguet dropped at the left and dropped at the right from the center point of that sea line? No, it's straight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could just feel them getting triggered because we're talking about left to right curvature.
The corners of the water black part should basically be touching the bottom corner of the extremities of the photo. That much curve should be visible.
Hello, how's everyone doing today?
Right?
Hey, QE. You can just before you pipe up. I don't know if you want to do this, Adam, but you can actually double check this on the advanced section of Metabunk's curve calculator. Do you remember that advanced tab? That's where this measurement is. If you want to double check your maths, go ahead, QE.
There's a more subtle non sequitur. Did anyone bring it up? I posted it a couple times already.
You need distance to get an angular size. Am I correct?
No.
They're not measuring. Calculating.
Yeah, I am correct. What do you mean? No, you mean it's not relevant to your point?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking. There's a more subtle way to destroy this argument. First of all, you didn't go. Obviously, you guys didn't go over it. Am I wasting my time posting this stuff in Skype?
No, I leave me speak.
We did.
We did.
We were kind of in the middle of something.
We did. We did mention that we didn't need to even go. We were addressing what they were trying to strawman us with, which is the acceptance of the two mathematical models, and we didn't even need to go to the point that they're assuming that their angular sizes that they're taking are being measured and verified, as opposed to just pulled from orthographic view.
Nathan, do you see it?
I think I did, yeah. So you're saying that, is it the objection that they're getting this derivation from pixel values so they can then later convert them into actual size measurements?
No. It's a more subtle non sequitur. Yeah, indirectly, you're correct. Did somebody put the actual? Can you put their actual argument up? I put it in ball buster.
Oh, really? Oh, let's have a look. Hold your horses, everyone. Let's just get this up. Hold on. So the argument's been formulated into words, and I can put it up on screen. Really?
Not into words, just the photo.
Okay, so the photo that you've posted, I've got it up now for the audience. Okay.
Why is it that I can't see that?
Because I'm putting it on the stream that is on my screen, and that's what OBS picks up from. I'm not sharing it with you because that's too complicated.
Okay.
But it's on screen for the audience.
All right, so Roofy, the numpty dipshit, and this is going to have far-reaching consequences you're going to see right at the end. Don't worry about the 2.50 degrees up top. Don't worry about that field of view. Who cares? You see that 0.43282 degrees? He's saying, Rufy's saying, because they calculated. You never been in school where people pound on a desk and stomp the floor? I'm doing that right now. Can you hear that? Yeah. Calculated. They calculated the angular size. Calculated. Everyone get that, right? What he's saying is, Rufy, is that mountain back there? The angular size of that mountain is as long as that red line. Now, there's something intuitively wrong with that. Really, something stupid this way it comes, right? What is it? Can somebody please define angular size for me?
They haven't measured the angular size at all.
They didn't measure the angular size, right? They calculated it. That's a big problem because that's not the definition of angular size. Angular size from NASA, an object's angular size is the angle between the lines of sight to its two opposite sides. An object's angular size is a measure, not calculation, measure of how large the object actually appears to be. Remember, I always say to have people define what they're claiming?
Oh my God, the pennies just dropped. Let me get this straight. So they're saying that the angular size of this mountain is the size in angle of the mountain, as opposed to what you can see of it and measure of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're trying to force on you the basic Muppet Vision maths into that picture and apply it.
Yes.
And that's what I wasn't going past.
Yes,
yesterday.
I'm not done. You can't finish up.
No, that was where I twigged what they were trying to do, and that's where I kind of left. I stated what they were doing and didn't speak after that. Finished my whiskey and headed to bed, listening to a bit. But that's what they're trying to do, and it's just
okay. Hold on, Adam.
Cookie.
Yes. So Adam has covered this, and he has pulled it apart in the live show as well. But yes, please feel free to continue, QE.
Yeah, I'm going to continue with the definitions. Remember, always have them defined, no matter how mundane it is. So everyone understands what's going on here. This is a bigger point. Always define it, okay? Okay, we already talked about that's from NASA, code.edu. The main idea here is that the further away an object is, the smaller it appears. We call this apparent size, the angular size of an object, because you're not actually measuring the object's true size. You're measuring, not calculating, the angle it takes up in your vision. From the medical dictionary, angular size, the size of an object measured, not calculated, in terms of the angle it subtends. The point of reference for the eye, you're seeing it, can be either the nodal point or the central point of entrance of the pupil. Huh, interesting. From Physics and Astronomy Department at Iowa State.edu. Whenever you look at an object, you are measuring its angular size. Measuring, not calculating. The amount of space it takes up in your field of view, not in your calculator. In degrees, minutes, and seconds. You see, this is Ranty's Blackpool dumpster fire redux. They never measured the angular size of the tower or mountain. They can't. Why? Because they can't see it. It's calculated. That makes it a non sequitur. Here's a really, really subtle point. If you do calculate the angular size, then superimpose that on reality for proofsies, you're guilty of a textbook reification fallacy and should be hung by a friggin' yardarm for purposeful retardation. Do you hear me? Do you hear me out there? Rufy, you are a retard. Got it? Sunshine. And everyone that's calculating angular size.
Can I add to this bit? Because this is the bit we're covering whilst I'm looking at the picture you've got, John, and this 0.43282 degrees, as we mentioned earlier, Nathan, if you just look at that picture and we split it up, those 0.4s, is
every 0.1 degree from the shoreline up the same number of pixels? Because as far as I can see, no, we've got compression, we've got the law of halves. Yeah, 0.1 of a degree at the top of that mountain is going to take up more than 0.1 of a degree lower down and lower down and lower down. They could become more compressed. And what they're trying to do is take that orthographic calculation from straight geometry and apply it to a optical image. You don't do that when you're surveying, John, do you? You don't go just take a photo and draw. Like, you have to calculate the angles from reality.
It's reification, man.
Remember what they did last time?
You just described reification fallacy.
Yes, it is, absolutely. But do you remember what they did last time to get around that? I think it was actually Ruth who did it. They rubbed out half the ruler. Do you remember?
Bottom bit out. Just
rub out the top half. Top half don't work.
Everyone get this. This is very important. Yeah, all the other stuff you can tear apart. Yes, yes, yes. But at the root, do you see it? Hopefully,
this is like a new spin on an old tactic. Instead of actually measuring, they calculate and say they measure. This is like old shit.
They calculate the angular size, and then they say they've accounted for perspective.
But there's one more nuance. There's one more nuance. So when they say they've calculated the angular size in order to account for perspective, where are they doing that again? They're doing that on a sphere, right? They're calculating this angle off the back of a curved surface, right?
On a flat plane piece of paper.
Yeah.
But hold on, I've got a diagram on my screen that shows that they're claiming that you're working with a curved surface with geometric horizons and so forth. So where do they get the angle from again? Did I hear you correctly?
Flat plane.
Flat. It's a flat calculation.
You had to take some geometric considerations, man.
Hold on. No. When they're taking perspective considerations, they're doing that with a flat plane, though, right? And when they're calculating for refraction, as Chocolate's pointing out, they also just take geometric considerations and measure those on a flat plane if they're dealing with actual refraction, as opposed to the conjuring of refraction with geometry. That would be terrestrial refraction. So when they account for perspective, which they are not actually accounting for, and they used to burn it like it was a straw man, because they had to acknowledge that they were taking these angles from a flat surface. Now they're just brushing past that, are they? I see.
Leave me sum it up. What they're doing is they're taking angular size calculations across a flat plane, okay? They're not taking any visual effects like visual occultation and optical drop into account. And then they're adding in their 7/6 refraction to claim that it's debunks a flat earth and claim a globe. And that's what they're doing. That's their whole thing. Their whole shtick is exactly that.
It's kind of like a rule of thumb, Brian. If you take... it's kind of they ignore perspective, and realize that 7/6 are have 7/6 are assumed as your thingy. Ignore perspective. The two together cancel it out and just leave you with Earth curve. That's kind of mathematically.
Meanwhile, they've got a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator that asserts Earth curve when compared to pictures now, haven't they?
Well, what's really
rehashed.
What's really telling about it is what they're not doing. What they're leaving out of the whole lot is the actual curvature, because they're not taking their geometric hidden value out of it. They're not doing any of that. They're avoiding that by just doing an angular size calculation of something in the distance that's behind other things. They're not taking any visual effects into account, like the occultation of it or optical drop of it over distance. And then they're adding in 7/6R. They're stating first, before they add in 7/6R, that because it doesn't match the angle that they've calculated exactly, or whatever nonsense, that means it's not flat. Then they put in 7/6R into their calculation and said, see, it's a globe. But what they didn't put in anywhere in that was the curve of their globe out and the drop value that would be hiding things. Never does that go in there. So they're completely... Basically, they're claiming 7/6R without claiming a globe, if you understand what I mean.
Gotcha.
No, I get what you're saying, Brian.
So they're practicing the art of curve without curve.
Yeah, exactly. They're they're anti-flat earthers, Chocolate. Who can we hashtag thanks for this exactly?
Ruhith.
#ThanksRuhif. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and becoming a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.